Welcome to today's deep dive. How does a team that's just suffered through, their absolute worst championship on record?
Oh, yeah. 1 win out of 5 tests. Brutal.
Right, exactly. How do they suddenly morph into this terrifying high-speed attacking force in the final weekend of the tournament?
It's the big question, isn't it?
It really is. And today, we are unpacking the predicted England 15 squad for their upcoming Friday night clash. This is an uncapped game against France 15 down at the Stade de la Rabine in Vannes.
Hmm.
And what we're really looking at today, pulling from a really detailed squad and tactical analysis from Planet Rugby, is essentially the anatomy of a coaching dilemma.
Yeah, I mean, it is arguably the most complex tactical puzzle Steve Borthwick has faced so far in his tenure.
No doubt.
Because, you have this blueprint from that final Six Nations match in Paris, a game where England played with a speed and an accuracy they just haven't shown in years.
Yeah, they look like a completely different team.
Exactly. But replicating that blueprint heading into, like, a hostile Friday night fixture while simultaneously preparing for a completely different style of opponent looming on the horizon.
Right, the Springboks.
Yeah. Doing both requires this level of tactical gymnastics that is it's fascinating to watch.
It is. So our mission for you, the listener, as we go through this, is to understand how Borthwick is attempting to essentially run two completely different tactical experiments at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, he's trying to keep the momentum of, well, let's call it the Paris Evolution, that fast, expansive game.
I like that, the Paris Evolution.
Right. But on the other hand, he's secretly preparing for what we could call the Springbok Protocol, which is that brutal physical warfare you absolutely need against South Africa on July 4th.
Yeah, you can't ignore that looming threat.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But a major hurdle to this dual approach is just the sheer availability of personnel, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The context here is critical for people to understand. Borthwick has named a 33-man squad, but, players from the Exeter Chiefs and Northampton Saints are entirely unavailable.
Right, because of the domestic finals?
Exactly. And in the ecosystem of English rugby, losing those contingents, it kind of alters the entire DNA of your team.
Yeah.
You aren't just missing individual talent, you're losing established micro-combinations.
Yeah.
Players who instinctively know where their clubmates are going to be on the pitch.
So he's forced to stress test his wider depth chart, just like pairing guys together who might barely know each other's tendencies.
Yeah, which is a massive risk.
It is. Which naturally brings us to the most vital decision a coach has to make when the environment is this unstable. Who is actually steering the ship?
Right, the fly half.
Yeah. The Planet Rugby source material points out that at fly half, the veteran George Ford is heavily favored over, well, the very informed Charlie Atkinson.
Yeah, and that makes total sense if you think about it. The fly half is the central processor of a rugby team. They dictate the tempo, the territorial strategy, and ultimately, they decide whether to unleash the back line or kick for territory.
Right, they run the whole show.
Exactly. And Atkinson is playing brilliant rugby right now, but when you're stripping away established combinations and throwing together an experimental squad,
Yeah.
injecting an untested fly half into that mix is just a recipe for complete structural collapse.
Wow. Yeah. I read on this is that Ford operates as a sort of decelerator when things get chaotic.
Oh, that's a great word for it.
Right. Like
Yeah.
when you watch him play, especially when the game breaks up and gets frantic, he has this ability to physically slow his own movement down. He draws the defense in and puts the ball exactly where it needs to go to, like, restore order.
Yeah, that ability to manipulate time and space is precisely why he's there. The analysis highlights this implicitly.
Okay.
Ford manages the game state so that the highly experimental combinations outside of him don't have to worry about the big picture,
Or they can just play their game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can simply focus on executing their specific localized roles. He absorbs all that pressure of decision-making.
And Borthwick is pairing him with Jacques van Poortvliet at scrum half to complete that veteran halfback axis.
Safe pair of hands.
Exactly. But if Ford is the central processor managing the risk, we need to look at how Borthwick is hedging his bets elsewhere on the pitch.
Right.
I want to look at the back three because the Planet Rugby analysis notes something very telling about the predicted lineup here.
Oh, the steward selection.
Yeah. Freddie Stewart at fullback, with Tom Roebuck and Kadan Murley on the wings.
Which is a configuration that prioritizes absolute aerial dominance and positional certainty over sheer, unbridled pace.
Exactly. And going with that trio means Borthwick is actively choosing to leave out some incredibly exciting in-form players.
Yeah, he's leaving some serious firepower out.
Right, specifically the hotshot Noah Calleroy and the deeply electric Adam Radwan.
Yeah.
So let me pose a theory here. If Borthwick is knocking down walls in the midfield, does he need a completely weatherproof roof in the back three? Like, picking the safety of Stewart over the raw X factor of someone like Radwan feels like a massive financial hedge.
Oh, absolutely.
Think of Stewart as like a low-risk government bond and an otherwise highly volatile stock portfolio.
I love that analogy. It's so true.
Right. Borthwick knows Stewart will catch 99% of the high balls kicked his way and will rarely be caught out of position defensively.
That is a highly accurate way to frame it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it explains the causality of international selection that fans often find so frustrating.
Right, because people want to see the flashy players.
Exactly. But keeping Radwan and Calleroy out is not a rejection of their attacking brilliance. It's a structural requirement.
Interesting. How so?
Because Borthwick knows that if he's going to invest heavily in high-risk, high-reward day trading in the midfield, which we know he's about to do, he cannot afford a volatile backfield.
Ah, I see.
If an attacking prey breaks down in the midfield and France 15 counters, Stewart is the fail-safe that prevents a mistake from instantly becoming 7 points on the scoreboard.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Which perfectly sets up the volatility we need to discuss next, because the midfield is where Borthwick is truly rolling the dice.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
This is the Paris Evolution in action. The predicted pairing is Bath's Max Ojamo at inside center and Bristol Bears' Benhard Janse van Rensburg at outside center.
This is the focal point of the entire tactical experiment. And the backstory provided by the source is just dripping with irony.
Right, because during last month's 42-man alignment camp, Janse van Rensburg was actually called in as a direct replacement for Ojamo.
Exactly. The coaching staff literally viewed them as an either-or proposition.
And now they're tasked with being the dual engine of the English attack.
It's wild.
It really is. And when I think about two highly creative, instinctive players who are initially competing for the exact same role, my immediate concern is that they're going to trip over each other. They don't play for the same club. They haven't spent months building that, like, telepathic timing.
So I have to ask, are we just looking at a coach throwing two talented guys onto a pitch in France and crossing his fingers? Well, it definitely looks like a gamble on paper, but the tactical theory underpinning this pairing is actually quite profound.
Okay, tell me more.
It comes down to how they interpret spatial geometry on the pitch. They might be similar in their creative ambition, but their natural instincts pull them into completely different channels. They don't actually want to occupy the same grass.
Break the mechanics of those channels down for us. What actually happens in the spaces they prefer?
So let's start with Ojamo. He naturally gravitates toward the 10-12 channel.
Okay.
This is the physical space immediately next to the fly half, George Ford. In this channel, the defensive traffic is incredibly dense.
Right, it's crowded.
Exactly. The opposition is sending their biggest, fastest defenders straight at this gap to cut the attack down before it even starts.
So how does he survive there?
Well, to survive there, you need the raw physical mass to absorb that immediate impact. You're functioning almost like a distributing crumple zone.
A crumple zone, wow.
Yeah, you take the hit, but you have the subtle handling skills to pop a short pass before you go to the ground.
So Ojamo draws the heaviest fire and uses his hands to keep the ball alive.
Yes, he manipulates the primary defensive line.
Got it.
Now, look slightly wider at Janse van Rensburg. His instinct is to slide outward toward the 12-13 channel.
Okay, moving wider.
Right. This is the area where the defensive line begins to stretch and fracture as it tries to cover the width of the pitch. It's broken space.
Right.
Janse van Rensburg is a master at receiving the ball in these fractured areas, getting his arms free through the tackle, and utilizing his offloading game.
Okay, so Ojamo punches the initial dent in the defensive wall, and Janse van Rensburg is lurking just outside that blast radius, waiting to exploit the cracks with offloads.
Exactly. And the source notes that this organic balance is exactly what attack coach Lee Blackett's strategy is crying out for.
Right, Blackett wants a multi-layered attack.
Yes. The analysis actually compares the potential of this pairing to how Ojamo and Ollie Lawrence operated together so successfully last season.
Ah, that makes sense.
And while Seb Atkinson is mentioned as a viable alternative at inside center, given he finished the Six Nations in the 12 shirt-giving Benhard Janse van Rensburg, the runway to prove this geometric theory seems to be the priority right now.
It's a beautiful theory, but again, relying on profiling over established club cohesion is the ultimate test of international coaching, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, will they read each other's body language in a split second under pressure from a massive French defensive line?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah. If Ford is the game manager and Stewart is the insurance policy, Borthwick has basically created the safest possible laboratory to find out if this explosive compound actually works.
Yes, and that laboratory extends directly into the forward pack.
Which is huge.
Because while the back line is entirely focused on evolving the attacking speed, the forward selections reveal that second hidden agenda we mentioned earlier, the Springbok protocol.
Right. Let's pivot to the forwards, because this is where the physical physics of the game completely change. The analysis highlights a really formidable group here. Ben Earl looking like a lock at number 8. Tom Curry as a highly viable open-side flanker option.
Both incredible players.
Yeah, and then a front row anchored by Joe Hayes, Jamie George, and Bano Obano.
Now, Obano's inclusion is particularly interesting when you consider the opponent.
Why is that?
Well, the source heavily backs him due to his recent scrummaging form for Bath. French forward packs are notoriously heavy and aggressive at the scrum.
Right, they're massive.
Exactly. Obano brings a very specific, low center of gravity destructive power on the loose head side that is required to neutralize a French front row.
That makes sense.
If you cannot achieve parity at the scrum against France 15, all the geometric theories in the midfield are completely useless because George Ford will simply never get clean ball to distribute.
Right, it all starts up front. But the truly defining shift in philosophy here, the selection that really broadcasts Borthwick's long-term anxiety about South Africa, is what's happening at the blindside flanker position.
Yes.
The analysis points to Ollie Chessum starting in the number 6 jersey.
This is a massive structural shift.
Cue.
Historically, coaches often use the blindside flanker as a secondary breakdown threat,
Right.
Someone built to hunt the ball in the rucks, slow down the opposition's ball, and create turnovers. A player like Ted Hill, who the source notes will likely be moved to the bench, fits a more traditional mold.
But Chessum is a giant.
He is.
I mean, he is fundamentally a lock. He's a second-row player being shifted to the side of the scrum. By making the blindside flanker a hybrid lock, you're sacrificing mobility and breakdown disruption for sheer towering height. So how does that change the mechanics of the game?
It completely alters the defensive calculus for the opposition at the lineout.
Okay.
Normally, an attacking team has 2 primary jumping options. They're 2 locks. The defensive caller can read their movements, track them, and basically mirror them in the air to contest the throw.
Right, because they only have 2 main targets to watch.
Correct. But when you put Chessum at 6, Borthwick is free to deploy George Martin, who the source notes has been absolutely magnificent since his return from injury, alongside Charlie Ewells in the actual lock positions.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, the lineout becomes a 3-headed monster. You have 3 genuine, towering jumping options.
Which just introduces an element of chaos for the defensive caller.
It really does.
Yeah.
It forces the defense to spread their lifters out. They have to guess who is actually going up, which usually means they react a split second slower. It makes defending the English lineout a nightmare.
And the analysis explicitly connects this shift to the upcoming July 4th clash against the Springboks, right?
Oh, 100%.
South Africa practically weaponizes the set piece. They use their lineout and scrum not just to restart the game, but to mentally and physically break the opposition.
Yes. You do not beat the Springboks with a lightweight pack of breakdown specialists. You just don't.
Right.
You need sheer ballistic mass to combat their size. Moving Chessum to 6 is a direct tactical rehearsal. Borthwick is using this match against France 15 to see if this supersized forward pack can function cohesively before he throws them into the meat grinder against the world champions.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
But, it also brings up the bench strategy, which completely reinforces this physical arms race.
Oh, the 6.2 split.
Yes. The source points out that Borthwick is sticking to this now traditional 6.2 bench split, meaning 6 forwards and only 2 backs in reserve, likely Harry Randall and Marcus Smith.
Yeah, the 6.2 split is the ultimate declaration of physical intent.
Right.
In a traditional 5.3 split, you have enough forward replacements to change the front row and maybe the locks, but some forwards have to play the full 80 minutes.
So what is the actual physiological impact on the opposition when you employ a 6.2 split?
Well, imagine you're an opposition forward, right?
Yeah.
You've been engaged in brutal, close quarters physical combat for 60 minutes.
Sounds exhausting.
It is. Your legs are heavy with lactic acid, your reaction time is dropping, and then suddenly, the English team substitutes almost their entire forward pack.
Oh, wow.
6 fresh, massive athletes step onto the pitch. It changes the physical physics of the final 20 minutes. It allows the English pack to maintain maximum output from the first minute to the 80th, constantly applying this suffocating level of physical pressure.
It's essentially a mechanism to win the game through sheer attrition in the final quarter.
Exactly.
And having Marcus Smith and Harry Randall as those two sole backline replacements provides incredible high-tempo spark against a tiring defense if things get loose.
Absolutely. It's a great balance.
But looking at the entire board we've just laid out, this squad feels almost schizophrenic. Well, we have the Paris evolution happening in the backs, right? A highly experimental, geometry-dependent, offloading midfield designed to play incredibly fast.
Right.
But then we have the Springbuck protocol happening up front. A massive, grinding, hybrid forward pack designed to batter the opposition into submission, backed up by a 6.2 bench split designed for pure attrition.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It's like Borthwick is trying to merge two completely incompatible philosophies into a single starting 15. So I have to ask, is he secretly far more focused on ensuring his forwards survive July 4th than he is about actually unleashing this backline against France 15?
You know, the tension you're describing is the defining characteristic of this specific moment in English rugby.
Really?
Yeah. Borthwick is a deeply pragmatic coach. He knows that the expansive, beautiful rugby we saw in Paris is what the fans want, and is arguably what the team needs to compete at the highest level long term.
Right.
But he also knows that if the English scrum and line-out are dismantled by South Africa in July, the resulting psychological damage to this squad could set them back years.
So he's attempting to build the sports car, but he's attaching it to a tractor chassis just in case the road gets muddy.
That is exactly it. And the glue holding those two disparate experiments together is the veteran pragmatism of George Ford at fly half, Jamie George at hooker, and, you know, the structural hedge of Freddie Stewart at fullback.
Right.
It's a highly calculated risk. Borthwick is basically insulating the volatility of his midfield experiment with as much veteran experience and physical mass as he can possibly fit onto the pitch.
So bringing all these threads together for you, the listener, what this detailed Planet Rugby analysis reveals is that Borthwick's selections for Friday night are anything but random rotation.
Oh, definitely not random.
Right. Yes, he's missing key players from Exeter and Northampton, but he's using that absence to intentionally run two parallel tests. He's hedging his bets with Stewart, Ford, and a massive forward pack to ensure the structural integrity of the team doesn't collapse. And within that protective shell, he is stress testing Ojamo and Janse van Rensburg to see if they can crack the code of the midfield geometry and keep that attacking fire of Paris burning.
It's a masterclass in trying to build for tomorrow while ensuring you actually survive today.
Yeah.
But, you know, the true test of a coach's conviction doesn't happen when the experiment is safe in the laboratory.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. Let's assume the laboratory experiment works perfectly on Friday night.
Okay.
Let's say this high-risk offloading midfield clicks, the geometry holds up, and England looks utterly brilliant attacking the France 15 defensive line.
Which would be amazing to watch.
It would. But when the pressure reaches its absolute maximum, when those massive South African Springboks arrive on July 4th and the margin for error drops to 0, will Steve Borthwick actually have the courage to stick with that free-flowing, dangerous backline?
That is the ultimate question.
Or, when the storm truly hits, will his pragmatic instincts take over, forcing him to abandon the Paris evolution and lock the doors with a safer, traditional tactical setup?
Yeah. Does the architect trust the beautiful new roof he just built, or does he run back to the bunker at the first sign of rain?
Exactly. It is the overarching question defining this era of English rugby. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the tactical mind of the England setup. We really look forward to having you along for our next exploration. See you next time.